Hello, my name is Carolyn Miller, and I would like to share with you today about my book, my piano technique book called Sportacular Warmups. This is book 1. It starts from the very beginning with C and D and C and B and middle C's position. What I've tried to do is relate what you do in the sport with what you do in your hand, your fingers, your wrist, your arm, the sound of it, and make a connection. The book has 5 different sports in it, and I want to show you a little bit from each one so you get an idea of what I'm doing. The first sport is basketball. And in basketball, the first one is dribbling. And I try to relate with my students that when you dribble, you don't dribble with a stiff hand and arm and wrist. So the beginning one is dribbling, and it's just loose wrist ones, dribbling. That's how we dribble. Then we move on and we get to free throw. And when I thought about a free throw, I thought you kind of lean back and you throw. And I thought that is definitely a 2-note slur. And there you have your 2-note slur with a jump shot. When you jump, you're buoyant. So the middle C jump is here. Your wrist is up here, and then you shot. You come down on the solid third. So jump, shot. Or sometimes it could be a second. The exercises are all short. They're usually 2 lines long. The tip in. This one the students always guess because it goes from a second to a third. And the foul they definitely get because the dissonant foul. The time clock, now this one introduces a little finger independence. You play middle C and you listen for the 3 ticks of the clock. So you're holding the thumb down while the other fingers are working. At the end of each sport, there's a 1-page solo that reviews. It's not meant to be your recital solo by any means, but it's a review solo of what you did in basketball. The second sport is baseball. So now we're reviewing our 2-note slur, but we are now playing hands together. And a bunt doesn't go very far, so that's just C and D and C and B. The single goes further. And the double goes even further. Charge is just for fun. There's one that's called Rundown, and there's 2 pictures of 2 people here and somebody in the middle that's caught. And this is where I introduce the 5-finger pattern. We're out to F in the left hand, G in the right, and we're moving down. The next sport is track and field, and one of the examples is hurdles. I usually play this for my students and say, which one do you think he touched the top of the hurdle? They listen, and of course they know it's the second one where he touched. Moving on, the pole vault. Now in this one you have a visual image of up and over. So this is where I introduce the octave. So the jump would be the middle C, and you go up and over to the next C up. So up and over, you have the octave. So that's the visual image. Jumping rope is where I introduce the thumb going under, getting ready for the scale. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Next, we're into a new sport, the extreme adventures, and we have one called the Wheelie. There's a picture there with a bicycle with the 1 tire down and 1 tire up. So we have finger independence, where the thumb is holding and the other fingers are working. And then the last sport is soccer, and you have things like charging. You have head balls. And then, of course, you have the solo song for soccer for that. There is a rhythm accompaniment track that goes along with book one, and it's really fun. It plays each one of the exercises twice. So if a student does get mixed up, they can start over the second time. It's like having your own little band you're playing with. It's really fun. The second book gets a little harder, and it's the same sports and I want to share with you one from out of here, and it's tip-in in basketball. In tip-in is where I introduce the grace note. So it tips right in. You have, and there's very little fingering. You can play that grace note with 4/5, 3/4, 2/3. You can use your own fingering. So that's book two. Book three then gets a little bit harder. Again, it's the same sports. And I want to share with you in basketball, we have a term called over and back again. And so these are your long arpeggios. You go over and back again. And then in baseball, there's one called extra innings, and my students usually figure out what I meant by extra innings, so it's a scale +1. And then book four is the hardest of all. And in basketball, we have had the tip in. And so we review the tip in with the grace note, but now we have one that's called round the rim and in. And this is the only one that has a 2-page song at the end of the exercise of baseball. And it's Take Me Out to the Ball Game, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play just a little bit of the ending so you can see some of the things that we covered in book four. Thank you very much. I hope you will check it out. Goodbye.